Namaskar and welcome to this new exciting show of Sathology with a yoga scientist. Yes, you know it. You heard him last time. You loved his conversation with us. And today we're going to speak about a little bit more on see, behind every process, there is a goal, especially in yoga. There is a goal. Either you want to realize your Paramatma, like there is some spiritual goal. So before we begin, so I'm going to introduce you to this person, Sri Atul Vyas. He is a yoga scientist based in Rajasthan, India, and his mother is extremely famous as Yoga Mother, who also trained Kate Winslet and many other celebrities also in Bollywood. So without delay, let's welcome Sri Atul Vyas ji on this show. Namaskar Atul ji.
Very good morning. Very good morning.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting time we are living in. You know, the most of the Americans are going to go through a very hard time in coming weeks and months, and the people are saying that what COVID-19 could not do, but post-COVID-19 depression can do to people, and it's a real problem. So for depression, there are a lot of alternate ways to heal other than medicines. Medicines chemically uh, can change the composition of your hormones, but there is an alternative way to do things. So what do you think on that?
Well, there is definitely actually this the base of human life according to yoga is prana. Even the God is said to be praneshwar. That is the Ishwar of prana. That is whose prana is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. So prana is a life force which is the basis of the human life, and the fluctuation, the weakness, the intensity, the location, and vibration of these prana like atoms depends everything. Life outcome are dependent on the prana and their vibrations and their location and their movement on everything. So when you are depressed, that does mean that there are certain prana or vayu, we call it, and you can call it energy, we call it air, they are not functioning as they should be. So there are different very powerful yogic techniques uh, as told by the Yogeshwar Krishna, the Lord Krishna, we call him the the God, Ishvara. And these techniques are very simple to follow, and their frequency can decide the outcome of your health, your wealth, and many other things. So this is the science. Yoga has been propounded by Lord Krishna, and Gita is said to be the textbook of yoga. So there are many techniques which we can share to dispel the depression. And one of the simplest and the most powerful techniques is Om chanting. Om mantra chanting is very, very powerful technique to dispel depression. And that is loud chanting when you chant and when you listen. So there are different ways how to do it. And if the scope of this talk permits me, I can show you how you can do it and how they help you to see the difference. And it makes a difference within 5-10 minutes. And there's no harm in doing it rather.
No,
Aditi ji?
we will definitely do that. But before, I want you to be a little bit devil's advocate here. So when you talk to these modern day psychiatrists, and so they have only two types of drugs they have: depressants and antidepressants. And the improving the level of chemicals uh, to bring up the mood swing or bring down the mood swing and these chemicals. So they say the serotonin level affects all these wild thought points and depression in people's minds. What do you have to say on that, please?
Well, yes. Well, I will go a little beyond what you have told me. This is serotonin story is very old one now. The latest discovery is by a US doctor, and he has devised that there are very important five parts of the brain which over the overactivity of these brains, these parts, or underactivity of these parts define certain movements, especially anxiety and depression. If I talk about, there is a part in the brain called ganglia. That part, if that part of the brain works fast, they work very fast, then you get anxiety. And when you get anxiety and still you cannot uh, control it, then that anxiety is turned into fear and depression, and later on depression. This is basal ganglia is the name of the part of the brain whose overactivity causes anxiety and depression and fear. This is an very highly researched uh, thing which I am talking to you about. He has used what we call it. He has taken the brain pictures, which is not like they are called spectrogram. In that, they introduce a neurotransmitter into your blood. I mean, radioactive atom in the blood, and spectrogram while you are walking. While you are working, I mean, you are in the normal life, and that spectrogram he has studied of at least 10,000 or 20,000 people, and doing a research on that, he found out that fear, anxiety is caused by the overworking of basal ganglia. So he has given three alternatives. One is drug therapy, one is nutritional therapy, and third one is introduction, I mean yoga intervention. And in yogic intervention, it was amazing to find that meditation, there are, I mean, he has even specified certain meditational techniques which are from yoga. And after, consulting through one of my friends who's a surgeon in Geneva, Switzerland, we suggested him certain yogic techniques which he researched and tested and introduced as a yogic intervention. One of the simplest technique, which is amazing, which reduces, if the basal ganglia is working fast and you are getting anxious, and that anxiety is not able to you control it, and you want instant result, and that is turning into fear or depression. The very simple exercise is raising your arms above your heads, upturning your palms, and breathing deeply. Without effort, you are breathing. This exercise, if you do for 3, 4, 5 minutes, it will instantly give you a relief from anxiety and depression. So such interventions, yogic interventions, can release the serotonin and also reduce anxiety levels and depression levels. So this is there are other techniques also which releases serotonin. We call them hasta vinyasa. We touch certain fingers on our certain points of our heads. I mean, this is a very normal ritual with the all the Hindus doing prayers in the temples. We touch hair like this, we touch our eyes, we touch these points, then we touch our heart. This hasta vinyasa has a tremendous effect on the working of the brain, which we call it emotional brain. Dr. Daniel Goleman has written a book on it, and he has found that certain techniques of breathing and these touches do wonders on the emotional health. Third point, For the emotional balance, there is a very simple breathing technique which we call it alternative nostril breathing. That is called Anulom Vilom Pranayama. Is amazing for emotional balance. If one can practice for 10 minutes a day, alternative breathing, closing one nostril, breathing to the left, then closing the left one and exhaling from the right, and then inhaling from the right and closing the right nostril and exhaling from the left. This is alternative nostril breathing. If I explain you the yogic science behind it, it is unbelievably, it's very amazing actually. So you can, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you try this, you will see that you regain your emotional balance very quickly and you become emotionally very stable and strong. Yogic philosophy says that when the prana or the life force is, is reflected through our breathing, when the breathing, they are interrelated. So when the pranas are disturbed through any psychological effect or thinking or events, which could be physical event, which could be mental emotional event, then you will breathing become shallower. And there are techniques to make this breathing deep and relaxed, and even suspend breathing naturally is the aim of yoga, that when the breathing is reduced or which is very deep and relaxed, then your prana gets settled. And when the pranas are stable, there cannot be any depression at all. This is the yogic science behind depression and serotonin, and they are all physical function. And the prana is the base of human existence. All the hormonal releases are controlled by this life force. And when we inhale and exhale, if you close your eyes and if you worship this prana, we worship this prana. Pranayama is not only breathing technique. We worship the life force which we inhale through the air. And when you mentally worship this, it does tremendous results. And when you take this breathing to your brain area by closing your eyes, visualizing that it is going to your brain, then it can revitalize your brain. And people from Alzheimer's are said to get a lot of deep relief from these basic techniques. Aditi ji.
So, Atulji, we will do a live demonstration at another show in a different way, in a different setting, where
Right.
we can speak in your morning and our time, where we can do that. I have to ask you one thing. You said something very important here about prana and the life here. Now, most of the people who follow Ayurveda, most of the people who do yoga, they understand about prana, but most of the others do not understand. People, because of various reasons, they connect yoga to a religion, and so we. So what is your viewpoint? How do you explain prana to all of them?
Well, prana is the basic life force or energy. You know, everything, if I take you uh, the matter versus energy, E is equal to, the sign, Einstein has given that E is equal to mc square. And till now it was considered that energy cannot be converted into mass, or energy cannot be converted into uh, a molecule, mass molecule, and mass molecule cannot be converted into energy. The boson, the experiment of the boson Big Bang experiment was based on this, because science discovered that electron is basically a charge, and how electron gathers mass is how life started. So when they found out that when the high speed electron particles are passed through an inert medium, and then that electron gathers mass, and that boson particle is born, and that even doesn't exist even for a million of a second, and then it breaks. But this is how the electron gathers mass. And in yoga, you will be surprised that in our yogic philosophy, it is said that when Shakti, goddess Durga, I mean, is said to be the energy, which is energy is electron. I mean, electron, and this energy is based of electron. When Shakti, Shiva is considered as Shav, inert medium. When Shakti enters Shiva, the dead corpse of Lord Shiva, then the life is created. So the creation of life we have very successfully explained there. Now that Shakti, for that Shakti to that energy to create life and sustain life is called prana, and it is said to be behind everything, and that you can call it atomic, molecule, I mean whatever you can call it, atomic, this Mark Planck had given this quantum energy, so on, so what you can name it anywhere. But energy is the basis of everything, and it is what it was considered that energy cannot be created into mass and mass cannot be created into energy. But yoga has been telling, and now they have been demonstrated, that if you see a rope, if you see a snake, suddenly in the middle of, I mean, if you're walking and if you see a poisonous snake, you suddenly jump. So what happens? That a thought, a fear, just fear is just a thought. Thought is nothing but an energy. That energy creates the molecule of adrenaline in the inside the body. Energy is converted into molecule, mass. That molecule of adrenaline is released, and adrenaline makes you jump. So this is prana. This energy which is behind your thought, which is behind your movement, which is behind your thinking, and you get it from food, you get it from the air, you get it from the sun. People, there are many instances that people don't eat for ages. They take energy from the sun because basically you need prana. So it is abundant in the air. That's why breathing is so essential. It is not the air we breathe. It is not the oxygen we breathe. It is the life force which exists, which we take through this air inside us. And one amazing thing I tell you now, in yoga we say that before your time of death, 6 months before your time of death, your prana, your body, even if you breathe in, the prana, it does not take in the prana, the energy. But when you breathe out, the prana goes, it becomes, the process is reversed before 6 months of your death. That's why before death people start losing vitality. And that is the time, 6 months time. So this is a very detailed and deep science which we have studied, and now many people are doing research on it, that how you decide that this prana is coming out or how you're deciding prana is going in. So prana is basically life force present all along, and which we take it through the breath, food, or thought. I mean, good thought also increase your prana, vitality, ojas. So this is prana for you. And prana, we believe in yoga, prana is the basis of life. All the activities of your wealth, energy, everything. So that's why the importance is of pranayama. And one more important thing I want to tell you, that there are specific ways of breathing in, we call it pranayama, Now I'm telling you, you can experiment, you can try yourself. If you do 12 pranayamas, 12, 1, 2, then you enter you become introvert. You're all outgoing energies which causes you distress, depression, jealousy, they become introverted and you start enjoying your seclusion. If you do 144 numbers of pranayama, then it becomes your dhyana. And if you do 1728 number of pranayama, it becomes the best meditation naturally. You will go into meditation naturally by your own self. And if you do 20,636 pranayamas, you become the enlightened soul. This is a so deep and detailed science. I'm giving you the numbers, and I invite the research scientists and doctors to investigate and do research on this science and check whether this claim of yoga is justified, verified, and holds ground or not. Thank you, Aditi ji.
What a wonderful answer. In fact, I am really attracted to do this with you, and I would like to take your guidance in this. Now, coming back to a very important part, you mentioned about the Gita in the beginning, and you also mentioned a very good point about the yoga being mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita as a source of the word yoga. So, can you please elaborate on that?
Well, Lord Krishna is said to be Yogeshwar. There are two terms, Yogeshwar and Yogishwar. Yogishwar is Lord Shiva, who is the god of yogis. Now, Yogeshwar means the god of the science of yoga, the skill of yoga, the master of the skill of yoga. Before I dwell into it, I will like to clear some concepts. Who is yogi? Yogi is a person who has mastered the yogic philosophy and yogic science and its practical aspects. He's called a yogi. A muni. Muni is said to be a person who does lot of manan, thinking deeply about the facts of life, what is life about. And munis are always celibate. They are never married. Third concept is rishi. Who is the rishi? Rishi is an enlightened soul who is married, who is not single. Then the concept comes Ishwar. Ishwar is God, who is all powerful, and which means Ishwar means the God who is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. And when we come now, Yogeshwara, in Srimad Bhagavad, Lord Krishna himself described who is a yogi or who is the master of yoga. He has mentioned a shloka which says, Nirapeksham Munirashantam Nirvairam Samadarsinam Anuvrajamyaham Nityam Uyet Tangri Redubhi. The Lord God Krishna says that Nirpeksham, that he is the real yogi who has no expectation, no expectation from anyone. Muni Shantam, who is a Muni, he is always doing manan on the Brahma. Munir Shantam, who is absolutely calm and peaceful. Munir Shantam Nirvairam, he has no enemies in the world, no enmity with anyone in the world. Nirvairam Samadarashinam, he looks everyone equally. Real secular, even plant, animal, human being, everyone equally. Nirvairam Samadarshinam Anuvrajamyaham Nityam. God says, I follow such yogi because from the mud which comes out from his while he walks, the dust which comes out while he is walking, I put it on my head and I sustain this universe. So first we define yogi and Yogeshwara. Lord Krishna in Gita's 4th chapter, first stranger, he has said very categorically that I, the Puratan Rishi, was born and I gave this science of yoga to Surya, sun god. Sun god gave this science to Manu, the Hindu lawgiver, Manu. And Manu gave this science to Ishwaku, the forefather of Lord Rama. This is a very sacred science, and Lord Krishna very categorically describes everything in fourth chapter. What is yoga, why it is then necessary, when it was born, how it got dwindled, again it was reborn, what is its utility. He has categorically said yoga gives you power. Yogam balam nasti. There is no other thing which can make you empowered like yoga. And he has detailed out how you can become God through yoga, how you can become very powerful through yoga, how you can become Brahman. Brahman means intellectual through yoga. How you can, there are certain techniques, how you can become Kshatriya through yoga, how you can become a master trader through yoga, and how you can become a social service oriented person, Shudra, we call it, through yoga. So that's why I say Yogeshwara Krishna, he has mastered and deliberately elaborated the science of yoga, and he has very well defined the prana. There are 5 energies. Their energy runs the world. Everybody knows it. But in human body, he has said that what is there in human body is there in this universe. So Pind and Brahman, there are 2 concepts. He said the entire universe is there in the human body, and what is there in the human body is there in Brahmanda. There is no difference between the 2. And on that basis, the human body he has divided into 7. There are 7 layers of consciousness in human body, and there are 7 layers of this thing in the universe also. So if he has compared it, and then he has divided the prana forces into 5 categories based on location and their functions. The prana entire energy is divided into 5 sub energies, which we call it, which are divided on the basis of their location and performance functions. For example, the vital energy or air, we call it, in the throat is called Udan Vayu. Udan. This is called Udan Vayu. It controls this area, and thyroid, every functioning is controlled by that energy. And if there is a malfunctioning in this area, there are certain exercises to strengthen the Udana Vayu, and then your throat or thyroid becomes all right. And then second energy is called Prana Vayu, which is located in the chest area, which runs the heart and lung. This is called Vayu Granthi, and if this energy gets weakened, then you get heart problem and lung problem. Now I tell you one additional thing about it. There is a disease called asthma. The asthma, as per yogic philosophy, is caused by the weakness of the Vayu Granthi, or the weakness of the Udana Vayu and Prana Vayu. And if you strengthen these 2 Vayus, your asthma goes away. And we have tried on many people. Third area is navel area. This is called Samana Vayu. This area of the energy, which is located in the navel region, which is responsible for your digestion and controls liver, pancreas, stomach, intestine, gut, is located in the navel region. And the fourth air is in your bladder region, the lowermost region, which is called Apan Vayu. It detoxifies kidneys, your bladder, your facets, and your urine are all controlled by Apan Vayu. It's downward movement. So it's located in the lower pelvic region. And fifth Vayu, the first energy is Vyan Vayu, which runs into the entire body. So look, this is a very useful concept that to treat diseases, we can find out if there are skin diseases, it is because of the Vyan Vayu problem. And there are techniques to how to strengthen the Vyan Vayu. So this is an amazing concept Lord Krishna has given. And the last amazing concept, how to become enlightened. He said the two opposing forces, Apan Vayu, which goes, which is direction is downward and is located in the colon, pelvic region, is moved upwards, and the Prana Vayu in the heart region is through the techniques of yoga is moved downwards. And when Apan and Pran meet, you become enlightened soul. You realize the total, ultimate, full human potential. This is the concept Lord Krishna has given, and there are many other details. The basic thing is that we are born, there are two nostrils. The left nostril, the breath goes to the through the spine to the last base of the spine in a zigzag manner through a nadi, we call it psychic channel, is called Ida. The right nostril, the channel which goes zigzag like to the base of the spine is called Pingala. And there is another channel called Sushmuna, which is at the center of these two channels in the base of spine. The spine has got three channels, like Chinese believe it, but we also say there are three channels. Center is Sushmana, left is Ida, this right is Pingala. And our prana, they move through these channels. All activities are moved through these channels. And we can, there is a specified sign, Nada Yoga, which says if your right nostril is dominantly flowing, then you must do hard work. You can take up load and text everything. If the flow is through the left nostril, then you are peaceful. You should only do intellectual things. And when the prana flows through the Sushmana, you become very peaceful, relaxed, and the best time to meditate. When you are in the womb, the Sushmana nadi is open, or the psychic channel Sushmana is open, so that you are peaceful and you are calm and you can tolerate all the dirt and filth of the inside. When you are womb, you can't breathe and you can tolerate everything. All the heat, coldness, dirt, filth, breathlessness, because your prana moves through Sushmana. But when you are born out of the body, of mother's womb, then suddenly the Sushmana closes and the Ida and Pingala starts working like this, and you become active. Your propensities go outwards. The aim of yoga is to collect the prana which goes through these Sushmana, Ida and Pingala, and force them through the Sushmana and get it open through Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga and every technique of yoga is used to open Sushmana and push prana through the Sushmana, through which it goes up through your various chakras, 7 chakras, and goes up to here, and where they meet, this is called Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati, Milan, I mean 3, and you go beyond your existence and you become very powerful. So this is the science. Very briefly I have explained what Lord Krishna, as I can speak on and on this. This is such a huge topic. The 4th chapter itself of Gita, I mean, go on for few more, couple of weeks, non-stop. There's so much to say about it. So, but this is briefly for you about the Gita and yoga and textbook of yoga. Aditi.
Actually, you enlightened us so much, and I need to. I would like to say we need to have this session every week, where we learn one new aspect with you, and we already have a huge following for you, a huge demand for what you speak. Uh, in my next session, I want to cover the Omkara, because what you just described, the how to remove the the biggest problem in last 3 months, which has happened in USA, is not COVID-19. It's the hopelessness which has crept in. And I'm sure the same situation is in India also. But given the rich culture of India, people do not, people take it for granted. People don't realize the importance of what they have. And they run after the foreign things.
No, I'm sorry, I will interrupt here. It is basically because in US, the vrattis of the people in US is outward towards Bishop, I mean, materialism, materialistic things, this and that. They are not going inward towards Atma. If you are not going inward towards your real Atma or your soul, you are bound to get depressed, distressed. I mean, all kinds of problems you will face, mentally stressed. They need to learn to do pratyahara, as I said, 12 pranayama they do, and see they could watch the difference they make into their life. If they what they need at this moment is to internalize their vrattis or energies to face this calamity with calmness. Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma has survived only because of this. If you internalize your vrattis and if you make prana move through Sushmana, you will not feel heat, cold, and outer event will stop troubling you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is a very simple advice I'm giving you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Atulji. It's a real pleasure to talk to you. We will bring, already I'm getting pings. This session was live and there are some people watching it. So they're already pinging us for the next. Actually, they want to experience the Omkara, the science of chanting to remove depression. So we will come back with this session again very quickly. So, but very grateful to you, you came and you shared this science with us. Namaskar.